Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. For those of our American friends who are celebrating Thanksgiving this day, I wish everybody a happy, meaningful Thanksgiving. And I want to talk about the connection of Thanksgiving with this week's Torah reading. This week's Torah reading is Parsha Toldot. Before I mention that, I also should mention that today is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the first day of the month of Kislev, which is the month that Hanukkah appears. And it's very important to note that we have just left the Hebrew month of Cheshvan, which is sometimes called Mar Cheshvan, because there are no holidays in it. It's what's called bitter Cheshvan. So we come out of the darkness and we come into the light that we're going to see in another 25 days with Hanukkah. And that's important to realize, that God always gives us the ability to come out of the darkness of our existence and come towards the light. Here in Israel, yesterday we suffered a horrible tragedy with a bombing, two bombings, and that killed a young boy and injured over 20 others. It was a very dark day, and we wish comfort to all those who are suffering, and we wish tanchumim to the family of the young man who was killed. But we have to go beyond that. We have to realize that we have to get out of the darkness and go towards the light. And coming into Kislev from Cheshvan gives us some insight as to how to do that. First of all, in this Torah reading of Toldot, we have our forefather Yitzchak, Isaac, giving his brachas, the blessings, to his sons, Jacob and Esau, Jacob and Esau, because he says he's getting old, he doesn't know when he's going to die. And Jacob, following his mother Rivka's command, impersonates himself as Esau to get the blessing. Yaakov received the blessing from Yitzchak, and Yitzchak actually thought he was blessing Esau, but the way the language worked out in the blessings, there was a lot of difference. It ended up, as the sages teach us, that the blessing that was intended for Jacob was in fact given to Jacob, even though Isaac thought he was blessing Esau. And Rabbi Shia Twersky, of blessed memory, says, he quotes these two blessings and points out the difference between them. The blessings to Yaakov say as follows: Vayiten locha hu Elokim mital hashmayim u'shmani haaretz. And may God give you the dew of the heavens and the fatness of the earth. And when he gave the blessing to Esau, the blessing he gave to him was, Hine mishmane haaretz yeh moshevecha u'mital hashmayim me'al. May the fatness of the earth be your dwelling, and the dew of the heavens from above. There are two striking differences between these two blessings. The first is that the blessing to Yaakov contained the words Elokim, Vayiten locha Elokim, God will give you. And that was not present in Esau's blessing. And then the second difference was, with Yaakov's blessing, the dew of the heavens was mentioned first before the earth. And in Esau's blessing, the earth, the fatness of the earth, was mentioned before the dew of the heavens. And what does that teach us? First of all, we recognize that as children of Jacob, as children of Israel, we must realize that anything that happens to us, any successes that we achieve, are not because of our own particular talents, they're because of what God wants to happen. God has given us the ability to do certain things. As the Torah says later on, towards the end of the Torah, it says, you should never think that because of my prowess, kochi v'atzmi asu et zeh, my power, my strength caused all this. No. The blessing to Jacob teaches that we must realize that every single thing that happens comes from God. And we must thank God for everything, even the slightest things. On the holiday of Thanksgiving, which, by the way, was initially thought of by the people in America many, many years ago, based on the holiday of Sukkot, the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, where we give thanks for the harvest. But we recognize that it is God to whom we give thanks. And the difference between the mentioning of the heavens first to Jacob and not to Esau is that, again, Jacob realizes, the Jew realizes that we live in a spiritual world, that the materiality of the world is not as important as the spirituality. The material things that we get are not as important as our job to emulate God by being kind, by being merciful, by looking out for somebody else, by being sensitive to somebody, by looking at any situation and trying to think, if we're disagreeing with somebody, trying to figure out what is their perspective instead of just dismissing it out of hand. We have to recognize that we have a higher duty. The duty of the Jew is to provide a light to the nations. Esau was endowed with materiality, and many people, unfortunately, spend their life only looking for materiality. Now we have a particular psalm, Psalm 92, that is said on the Sabbath day, on the Sabbath evening service. It says, the second sentence says, Tov lahodos l'Hashem, it is good to thank God, ulezamer l'shimchu elyon, and to sing to his great name. The next sentence says, lahagi baboker chazdecha, to speak of his greatness in the morning, and ve'emunas ba'alaylos, and your faith at night. First of all, this teaches us that we have to be grateful for every single thing that happens in life, even the things that seem to be painful. We don't understand why. We don't understand God's ways. We still must thank God for everything that happens. The second sentence says to give thanks in the morning, to give you praise your greatness in the morning, and your faith at night, teaches us another important lesson. It's very easy when things are going good. You're looking up, you're making a good living, your family's doing well, you have a happy marriage, children are great. It's easy to thank God. That's the morning, when things are bright. But at night, when the darkness ascends, when things look really difficult, when we're living in a difficult time, we're wondering, how are we going to get through this day? That's when it requires the faith, your faith in God, that tomorrow the dawn will come. Tomorrow will be a new day. Tomorrow will usher in a light. Just as Kislev, the month of Kislev, teaches us that having left the darkness of the month of Cheshvan, Mar Cheshvan, we are coming into the light of Hanukkah. My blessing to all of us is to give thanks in the appropriate manner. Thank God for everything you have. Part of thanking God is also being thankful for something that somebody does to you. So be thankful for everything that happens. I bless us all to to live a life of thankfulness to God, recognizing that everything we have comes from God. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat.